and they're off.
Further Faster, the best independently owned outdoor store in the known universe. Whether you're heading out on climbing, paddling, tramping or running adventures, look no farther than Further Faster for all your gear and expertise needs over the winter. Head over to 57A Buchan Street, Sydenham or Tautahi, Christchurch, or hit them up at furtherfaster.co.nz.
It goes something like further, faster, there in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to further, faster now.
Oh, further, faster, there in Christchurch. Rocky is hairy and so is Badger. Jules is nice and Jacob is delicious. Go to further, faster now.
Dirt Church Radio.
Episode 376 of Dirt Church Radio, the third ranked Trail and Ultra Marathon podcast in Aotearoa, New Zealand, North Island edition. I'm Matt Raymond.
I'm Ellie Pottinger.
You've just made me wonder if we should have a South Island edition.
That'd be insufferable. Anyway, introduce yourself.
Where does the stat come from, Matt? Sorry, Andrew.
My brain.
Okay. It's like, is this based on something real?
No. Well,
no.
I always look at, and I know this is a digressive start. I always look on the top of the man robe that I perch on to record these. There's the Crush the Cargill kindly gave us the New Zealand Trail Podcast Award second place award.
Oh, I
see.
So it's come from Crush the Cargill.
Yeah, from there.
Okay.
How are we, buddies? It's nice to see you again. How's everyone's week been?
We're only into the start of the week, but it's been good so far. Yeah, last week, man, it's been busy. It's been awesome. Had a great weekend. Went to Mount Maunganui for the weekend, which was lovely. Beautiful weekend.
How's Sebastian?
Yeah, I'm quite distracted because there's a very loud toddler out, so my 3-year-old.
Sounds happy though.
He is happy. He's a happy chappy. Yeah, so now, good. Back to reality. Good week. Had a great run today. Look at me go.
Oh, yeah? Tell us more.
80 minutes. 80 minutes.
Wow.
I'm back up to 80 minutes.
Let me just give you kudos. Was it obvious? Was it over 4K for 80 minutes?
Andrew.
Wow. That's a little rude, isn't it?
Patriarchy.
I can be out for 80 minutes, but
were
it
you
has
having
to
a
be
toddle?
over 4K. And I got to have a little shinny. So I don't know if you guys have experienced this secret spot in Rotorua, but we have shinny dips. Have you ever had a shinny dip?
Boy, that sounds rural.
No.
So at the secret spot, they have this like little miniature hot tub for your lower limbs.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah, so I often finish my run and have a shinny dip, and it's just like a little moment of luxury. Have a hot chockey, have a shinny dip, upload my Strava,
There's no way a guy from Central Auckland is ever getting told about any secret locations to do this in Rotorua. That one will be kept very local, I think.
Okay.
It's a commercial secret spot, though, isn't it? It's not
Yeah,
like
it is.
it's not like Kerosene Creek
it's
was.
actually
It's
called
like
that.
a business. They won't.
And they're actually going to Christchurch. Maybe we can go when we go down to Christchurch. We can go to the next place. And this is not a paid ad. This is just purely me enjoying my long run and having a shitty dip.
What's going on here, Ellie? Afternoon e-bike ride, 1.67K. Definitely no kudos for that one.
Come on, it's Kempe pickup.
Absolutely not. Oh, there we go. Oh, phew, yep, over 4K, 11.03.
Made it.
Second fastest 10K for 2026.
Yeah,
Well done.
there's not been many 10Ks this year. No.
Yeah, I got my fastest 50K for the Denny's Marathon. I was sitting down for half of it. It's like, it's not been a good year, clearly.
Room for improvement, Andrew.
Room for improvement.
What about you, Andrew? How have you been, man? Any big fast food based ultramarathons?
Sadly not. It's been a. I could bore you with the stories of how difficult it's been to go for a run lately, but let me just say it's been difficult to go for a run lately. I have to run. We talked about the whatever it was maxing the other day. I'm kind of a time maxing person. I like try and calculate everything down to the minute. And when things don't quite go, which, things don't quite go to plan almost all the time, suddenly I find myself running out of time all the time. And yesterday was the perfect example of that when I was like, right, I do this, water blast this, get that done, clean it right. And now I'm going to make dinner for the kids, and then I'm going to quickly sneak off and go for a run because I'm flying solo this weekend. And I'll be able to fit that in. And just as I'm about to start cooking dinner, power cut. And I was like, what? I have not incorporated a power cut into my day. So it threw everything. Everything went out the window and then the run never happened. So
what did you do for dinner?
It eventually came back on, but of course everything's thrown out of. I had about it took another hour, but by the time that hour was basically runtime gone. So anyway, it's a world's smallest violin situation, but sometimes it is annoying.
Nah, but like it keeps you level.
I had exactly the same thing happen yesterday, except it wasn't a power cut. It was the bit that came off the fucking lawnmower that keeps the lawnmower. You know, you got the lever
handle.
and you like crank it up. No, not the handle. That's you crank it up like you want it that far up or that far off.
Yeah,
the
sure.
Yeah.
That bit broke off.
Oh,
Just the bit, the serrated edge. It was probably the power which I was grinding it through there. Just came off.
So manly.
The
Brute
masculinity.
force.
It broke off, and that was my day. That was my long run gone because I had to then try and find a way to put a number 8 wire repair on a lawnmower, which turns out I can't do, and then try to mow the lawn and then try to weed whack the lawn with our Pansy electric weed whacker, which won't do much, and then take the freaking lawnmower to the lawnmower repair place, which was closed, spend 15 minutes on the side of the road crying in my car, and then, like you said, Andrew, then the day's done. I was like, it's just...
I feel
Hitting
like
that
you
100k
invested-
week is just not going to happen. Which that was what I was going for, and that was
going to happen.
That was
You
super
invested
annoying.
too heavily in your lawns, Matt. I would like, as soon as that lever broke off, I'd be like, that's it. Lawns are dead to me. I'm off for my run.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Priorities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we've got quite again, we've got quite a property. No, it's been, because we've been running a lot and going for long
Yeah.
runs a lot. Our lawn's quite long.
Oh, so
it's
they're
kind of
quite
past the
neglected
point of
already.
like, oh, God.
You've had weeks of that happening
Yeah.
already.
Basically, what
Yeah.
we're saying is the modern world is so busy. There's just no time for anything to go wrong.
No, that's right. Yeah.
We don't allow for things to go wrong.
No,
And when they
there's
do,
no
you're like,
margins
oh
of error.
no.
Yeah. This is not meant to happen.
Yep. I'm definitely maxing today, though. I'll be going till 1 a.m. when I have to go to the airport. So that's exciting. Yeah. That's a pickup.
Have you run today?
Yes. And it was just over 4K, so I expect kudos from both of you. It was a terrible
Oh,
shoot.
okay.
kudos.
I'll get my phone
It
out now.
was supposed to be further, and it was one of those up the road, feel like absolute balls. So hung a right instead of a left, and ended up back where I started not long after. It was some days it just running sucks.
I love how you do that. I really do. I think more people should do like that. And I think the thing that really gets to me as well is then you'll go and like, I couldn't be bothered taking the train, and I got a train to South Auckland on Saturday. It was like $4. So your
really-
thing of like your impecuniousness, I don't think it's like you didn't have a spare $4. Also, what did you eat at Denny's? You're vegan. Do they have a big vegan menu?
Well, I was worried about that, and it turns out you consider DIY your own breakfast. So at 3 of the 4 Denny's, I had the same thing, which was a hash brown, baked beans, and an avocado.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
and
Doable.
then I at the third one it was what are they called? Curly fries or fries?
Oh,
yeah, curly fries.
curly
Yeah, which were actually
fries.
really good.
Curly fries are great fries.
Curly fries and lion red at number 3.
Henry.
So that's
Incredible.
the thing, isn't it? You do like you do a 77K, like, oh yeah, I ran to every Denny's in Auckland except the one in Highland Park there, or
Wido, yeah.
Wido Valley. That's right.
Yeah, it doesn't exist in North Shore.
And then you're like, oh, it just felt like balls, so I turned around. That's excellent. It's excellent.
It doesn't.
More
I
people should
mean,
do it.
it's only because I'm old and I've done enough to know how pointless it is to try and push through that on a Monday training run. But it doesn't mean it feels good. Like I don't like turning around, and I don't like but I know when it's the right time to do it, and I also know that in the grand scheme of things, it isn't going to matter. To whatever it is you've got coming up or whatever. In fact, if anything, it might be better.
Might help. I'm going for a run after this.
Oh,
Are
good
you?
man.
Yeah. Talk about maxing.
Did we actually get into how your weekend was, Matt, apart from the lawnmower?
Well, the curse
it.
of Matthew Raymond watching live sport continues.
Did you go to the Wars?
Yeah, the Warriors got smashed.
2 points, mate.
Oh,
2
okay, then he
points.
gets
Not
smashed. Oh,
Can't
well,
get
it was a
smashed.
brutal ending. I watched
Hang on,
the
let's
end.
break this down.
Okay,
Let's
sorry.
break this down.
We haven't
So Leka Halasima, he picks
the
up a
Warriors
hamstring strain.
podcast.
They're resting Capel and Barnett after Origin's still happening, actually, so they're not available. James Fisher-Harris, he's also out injured. They're losing their big man at the front. It was a classic arm wrestle. Mark Bunyan, if you're listening, go to hell. Your team sucks. And no, it was a great.
Sharks.
It was the Sharkies. It was great. It was a great watch. And
On-screen timer, we had some issues there. The old countdown.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So
yeah,
robbed. No, robbed? No.
Although,
yeah.
the thing that I love about live sport, and there's, I think, trail running and stuff like when you see men and women being athletic on particularly rugby league, but rugby union as well, and football, is their proprioceptive sense. Like, you know how you see someone like running down a mountainside and they just know where they are in space. We went for a drop goal which would have leveled the scores and taken us into Golden Point. And I can't remember that he was bald and he was in a Cronulla Sharks uniform. He charges the ball down. He jumps in the air. The dude kicks it into his face. Chanel Harris-Tavita kicks it into his face at about, 1 million feet a second. He catches it cleanly and then runs up the field, and then they get a drop goal. It's just the most incredible,
He got it
Human
himself
beings
too,
are
didn't
incredible.
he?
What was that?
He also got the drop goal.
He did.
He had the
Yeah.
intercept and the drop goal, which was pretty
A moment of
man
true
of the
heroics.
match, really. Yeah.
Come for trail running, stay for rugby league and Denny's. But
And
Ellie, we've got a double header today, and you did all
Yes.
the heavy bloody lifting. What have we got?
Heavy. So I don't know which order it is, but we've got the Women in Trail chat from Ultra Trail Australia, which had a really cool panel on. So we had Beth McKenzie, Lydia O'Donnell. Oh my goodness, my brain's having a massive fart right now. An epic triathlete. What was her name? It's been so long. Sorry, apologies. Insert name here from Andrew from the future.
Sure.
That would be Sophie Lynn. All right.
And Charlie Simpson. So, yeah, they were very cool chat. And then I talked to Pelle Kempe about, so he's an obstetrician specialising in women's health and advocating for women's health. And we had a chat about all things kind of women's health related and how it can impact trail running. And so hopefully applicable to everybody to have a listen, like men and for their partners or their teenage daughters and women that are going through it or about to go through it. So, yeah, cool chat, and obviously with kind of that trail and ultra running lens to it. So hopefully you enjoy it. It's slightly different, but I think it's important to have these conversations. We're lucky enough that we have a platform where we can have interesting conversations and hopefully also impart a bit of information and have everyone happy and healthy and looking after themselves when they're doing their running.
Here we go. The sisters are in. Fantastic. We'll get into that shortly, but first, we should do this.
It's the greatest run ever. It's the greatest run ever.
Greatest Run Ever, which is the part of the show where we ask you to write into us and tell us your greatest run ever. It doesn't have to be a race or a mountain summit. Might just be a run around the block, something that's sung to you for some reason. Send them in to us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com. This is a real special one. It's from Elliot Cole, and he writes for the Back of the Packers Greatest Run Ever submission. Like a lot of bad ideas, it started around a campsite at New Year's. A few mates were throwing around the ideas of running Tarawera 50k. There was plenty of banter, a few beers, and before I knew it, my ego had wandered into the conversation and volunteered me. Yeah, I'll do it. Might I add, nobody else joined me in the end. At the time, I didn't love running. To be honest, I still don't know if I love running, but I do love an acid bath just to see where I'm at. There's something about putting yourself in a place where you're not guaranteed success, where growth happens whether you asked for it or not. I finished Tarawera in about 6.5 hours and I was immediately hooked. The rest of the year filled itself up quickly. Backyard ultras, point to points, long days out, Riverhead Backyard Ultra, King's Backyard Ultra, North Shore 24, Taupo 100k. Each race taught me something, and if I'm honest, I managed to tenace my way through most of them. Gosh, that's quite an escalation, bro. That's a huge first year of running ultra marathons. Anyway, that's just my 5 cents. Then Elliot writes, then the idea of a 100-miler arrived. Not just any 100-miler, the spectacle 100-mile. Marketed as the hardest 100-miler in the country, held in Nelson and running for the very first time. Naturally, I thought, why the hell not? I had absolutely no idea of what I was getting myself into. December arrived and I flew south. Nelson was hotter than expected. The valleys were baking in temperatures pushing 30 degrees. The race started at 5 p.m. on Friday evening, and as we stood on the start line, I noticed there were fewer runners than I'd imagined. A first-year race, a long way from home for most people, it felt intimate. The kind of race where everyone was about to become part of the same story. The gun went off, and immediately the climbing began. Back home in Riverhead, climbing means something very different, and as someone who lives in Riverhead, I'll just add, climbing doesn't really mean much in Riverhead because the steepest climb we have is like 175 metres above sea level. But anyway, I digress. This was relentless, long climbs, steep gradients, endless hiking. Within the first 30 kilometres, runners were already dropping. As the sun set out over Richmond and the field stretched out, the race started to feel very lonely. By Saxon Field, around 40 kilometres in, I arrived before my crew. That shouldn't have mattered, but it did. Beating my estimated arrival time lifted my spirits enormously. I wasn't broken. Not yet. I ate some noodles, kissed my wife goodbye, and headed into the night. The climb out of Saxon was the beginning of a long lesson in humility. In the darkness, we shuffled upwards in what can only be described as a death march. Head torches bobbing through the trees, nobody talking, everybody suffering. At Hackett, I changed shoes and clothes. Everything was soaked in sweat, and I was already worried about what was happening to my feet. The next section is where the race truly started. This wasn't trail running anymore. This was tramping. Steep, technical, rugged terrain that seemed to climb forever. Hours passed in darkness. Then came the blisters. The blisters became pressure, and the pressure became pain. By the time I reached Rock's hut, I sat down, took my shoes off, and started cutting holes in my feet. I'd been moving for nearly 14 hours. It was pitch black. The race was barely halfway through. A few runners arrived behind me, looked at the hut, and decided sleep sounded better than continuing. I put my shoes back on and kept moving. Dun Mountain is the high point of the course, literally and figuratively. By the time I'd reached it, I'd stopped multiple times to lance blisters. Every descent felt worse than the climb. The drop into Mai Tai Dam was horrific. I wasn't running. I wasn't even walking properly. I was limping. When I finally arrived, hours behind schedule, I called my wife, not for help, just to apologise. I don't know why. Maybe because things weren't going to plan. Maybe because I felt like I was letting people down. Maybe because ultras do strange things to your brain. Thankfully, this is where I picked up my pacer mat. And thank God for that. The next section through Hidda Forest was where people went to die. Not literally, mostly. The heat was savage. Dust hung in the air. There was no wind. I wasn't lacking energy. My nutrition was good, no cramping, no stomach issues. The problem was much simpler. My feet were wrecked. Every step hurt. I lay down several times beside the trail for 2 or 3 minutes at a time, not sleeping, just existing. Matt kept talking, kept moving, kept me moving. Eventually, we dragged ourselves back towards the golf course to begin the second loop. The sun was setting again. I had 50 kilometres left, and I knew I could finish a 50-kilometre race. The problem was, I'd already done more than 100 kilometres before getting there. Somewhere during the second night, the hallucinations started. Or maybe they'd started earlier. It was hard to tell. At Third House, we saw a group of deer. After the race, I texted Matt and I said, "Did we actually see deer?" He replied, "The deer, yes. Everything else, no." That still makes me laugh. The climb back towards Dun Mountain was the lowest point. I knew I was near the back. I knew the cutoffs were getting tighter. I knew I was in trouble. Halfway up the climb, I sat down completely defeated. Then, like some kind of ultra-running bush medic, the legendary Fabiano Petroni appeared. We'd caught him while he was taking a dirt nap. In the middle of the night, in the middle of the bush, he proceeded to lance my blisters. It's a strangely intimate experience. You never really know someone until they're popping your blisters at 2 a.m. on the side of a mountain. And we've stayed in touch ever since. By the second summit of Dun Mountain, we were doing maths. Not race maths, cut-off maths. The dangerous kind. Matt's flight home was already gone. Then his second flight became questionable too. As we descended towards Mai Tai, we made the call. He'd leave at the aid station. I'd finish the final 20 kilometres alone. At least that was the plan. And it was a terrible plan, because when I got there, my wife had already made her decision. She was coming with me. No training, no gear, no race vest, no preparation, just stubbornness and love, which was exactly what I needed. By then I was dangerously dehydrated. I wasn't drinking enough. I hadn't slept. I'd been moving for nearly 2 days. The hallucinations were in full swing. My wife simply kept talking. What do you need? Keep moving. Just a little further. Again and again and again. Every ultra runner knows these words. Just a little further. Then came the Grampians, the final sting in the tail. The climb that I'd forgotten about or perhaps deliberately erased from my memory. The cut-off clock was ticking. The Sunday sun was already brutal. Every step felt like it might be the one that did me in. But eventually we reached the final aid station. The videographers waiting. The volunteers were waiting. And suddenly it felt real. I was actually going to finish. Someone threw water over my head and I was told that I had 10 minutes. 10 minutes. At nearly 43 hours, I turned downhill and emptied the tank. Nobody thought I'd make it. The tracker had stopped updating properly. One of the tracking crew actually rode up the road looking for me. Instead, I came charging past him, closer than anyone expected. I could hear voices, cheers, the finish line. My wife right beside me, pushing, encouraging, dragging me home. I rounded the final corner and saw it. 42 hours and 55 minutes. Over 7,000 metres of climbing. 5 minutes before cut-off. Dead f***ing last. I crossed the line in NBA Finals fashion. Come on, like I'd won the whole bloody thing. In that moment, I felt like I had. I've since gone back and taken almost 10 hours off that time. I've run 100 milers much faster. I've had better races, cleaner races, smarter races, but none of them meant as much as that one. Because good races tell you what you're capable of, and bad races tell you who you are. So for everyone who's doubted themselves, for everyone who's suffered their way to a finish line, this one was for us. We come back in 2026 for round 3. Come on, EC.
Ditch Radio.
Right, here is our chat for the UTA Women in Trail panel. Welcome everybody to the Ultra Trail Australia Women in Trail panel. I'm Ali Pollinger and I have the joy of hosting this incredible bunch of women today. Just to give a bit of context, I wear a few different hats. So I'm a mum, coach, runner, podcast host and event MC. So you'll see me this weekend on your start and finish lines, as well as being up here chatting with these amazing athletes. So on that note, let's introduce them to you. We've got Sophie Lynn. So she has represented Australia in triathlon at the Commonwealth Games and the Olympics, and she's decided she quite likes getting her legs dirty now by hitting the trails. Now I'm going to switch. We've got Lydia O'Donnell, hailing from an elite athletics and road running background. Lydia has also decided that the trails are more fun and is tackling the 50K this weekend. We've got Charlie Simpson. She's grown up watching and crewing her mum and dad do epic ultras around the world and has well and truly got the bug. And her running's just going from strength to strength. So this weekend she's tackling her 4th 100K. Is that right, Charlie? And then we've got Beth McKenzie, former pro triathlete. On the Ironman in 70.3 scene, she took her speed to the trails and she's won UTA 100 and been second. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. As well as been on the podium twice for Tarawera. So we've got some really amazing athletes up here who I'm looking forward to chatting with. So I think we'll start with Sophie with a few questions. Well, actually, maybe we'll start with everybody. Sophie, we started talking about it off mic, but I'd love to hear about it on mic. What made you get into trail running?
So I was definitely a little bit bullied into trail running by some good friends. last year I was taking a bit of a break from triathlon after the Olympics, and they suggested I sign up for Desert Rats, which is a race in Fruita in Colorado. And so I signed up, and a couple weeks before the race, she told me she was pregnant, so she couldn't do the race anymore. So she had pushed me to do it, and then I was left on my own. But thankfully, she came out and crewed. But I did the Desert Rats 50K and went back to triathlon for the rest of the year, and then decided now I'm done with triathlon and trails are way more fun.
I can imagine there's people in triathlon that are ruining your friend signing you up for that race.
Yeah, as I was going down the finishing chute, she goes, "You can quit triathlon now." And I was like, "You cannot post that video."
Lydia, do you want to talk us through your entrance into trail running?
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here, and thanks to everybody for coming out. I really only started trail running like seriously in the last maybe 6 months or so. I grew up doing traditional athletics, road running. I spent the last 10 years running marathons quite seriously, and I dabbled in a few trail races more just to have fun with them. I never really trained properly for them. And then I moved back up to Noosa and got kind of pulled into the trail running squad with Beth. And I just think the marathon scene, there's a lot of pressure that comes in racing marathons. You know, when you're racing a marathon, they all kind of just end up looking the same. And I just wanted to experience something different. And I really have found like trail running is a totally different sport. And I just want to see what I'm like capable of while I can still do it. And see what other races I can do.
Cool. Charlie.
I've got this. I think as you mentioned before, I've obviously grown up support crewing my parents at trail running events. I've been around it forever. I did my first 100K when I was 18. So that was 5 years ago, very slowly. And it was definitely a big adventure for me. That kind of scarred me enough to not go back to running for a few years. But last year I decided I needed a bit more structure and wanted to kind of push myself a little bit more. So I went back to the 100, and ever since there, and I've just loved it and haven't looked back really. But yeah, just being around it my whole life, it's, I think, a really good thing for me. And I, love being around women like Beth and Lydia, and I have so many people in the Blue Mountains that I'm around as well. Yeah.
Thanks. Beth.
Yeah, I really also just got into trail running at the ripe age of 44 in 2024, and did my first 100K there at Tarawera. And what got me into trail running at that stage, I think, was that I had done professional triathlon, and then I had dabbled in the marathon a bit to see how fast I could go. But I really just wanted to have more adventures, and I had that feeling that I wasn't done yet and there was more I could explore, and what better place to explore than on the trails and just meeting beautiful people day in and day out. It's truly a gift, and I feel like I've had this second life in sport, and I feel really grateful for that.
Thinking about it, we've got a few I'm going to call it road running background from coming from triathlon for you too. And Lydia's obviously got a road running background. Often, I say the difference between trail and road is that road running people will go, "What time did you do?" versus trail running, they'll go like, "Did you have fun?" or "What did you see?" So with that lens on, what have been some of one of your kind of biggest highlights of trail running, like your best adventure or something epic that you've seen where trail running's taken you? You can start wherever. You don't have to start with Sophie. She looks like she's please don't do this to me.
Honestly, the best thing that has come from getting into trails so far has been the community. Like, the training that we have been doing up in the sunny coast is just so fun, and it is really the people that make it that fun. Like, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, heading out on the trails at 5 a.m. We're driving an hour to get to the trails. We're running for 3 or 4 hours. It's nearly a full day of adventure, but doing it with people that are there, they're ready to grind, but they also don't take it so seriously. I definitely have found, in the road running scene, it is very serious. It's about your paces, it's about your splits. Everybody knows what your marathon time is. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that, but we go out there, we'll run, we'll hike, we'll walk, we'll crawl, we'll stop and we'll eat, we'll take selfies, we like do the whole thing, and it's just so fun. And I think that's what I will continually remember, is just like the training that you get to go on to get to kind of the race day.
I think for me, like I've touched on it, doing a lot of it with my parents, in more recent years with my dad. So he's always been a lot faster than me, but we've still been able to run together because trail running, there's no pressure. He can drop me a million times, which he does all the time. But yeah, just being able to share that with him and my mum and everyone else. And as you said, it doesn't matter how fast you are. You can get dropped. You can catch up a few kilometres down the track, and yeah.
It is so true. It's just like, it is more about the shared experience. And, I met Emily Brunt, who's out there doing the miler here today. She has won the UTA 100 before, and we've been on the podium here together, and we met here. And then, so last year when we were training, she was training for UTMB in France, and I went to Teen, and she said, train with me, and we became good friends there. And then I come back to Noosa and get a message from Emily a few months ago saying, hey, would you run with my friend Charlie when she comes up to Noosa? And then so Charlie and her dad come join us, me and Lydia, out driving. I just said, oh, we're meeting here at 5:30 a.m., hour drive away. And they're like, yep, we'll be there. Never met them before. We all went on a 30K run together that day and proceeded to train together for the rest of the week. It is just about that. It's like a waterfall effect, a domino effect of connection. And that's what being here for the third year, it feels like really full circle for me. And just having, a community around us is really exciting and fun. Sophie.
Yeah, I think that the three of you have said it very well. And I'm lucky enough to be in Boulder in Colorado, where trail running is definitely the norm. If you're not running on the trails, what are you doing? You're doing triathlon. But the last couple of years, when I would be training for triathlon, would be waking up, doing a hard swim, doing a hard bike as a brick, run off. And all of my friends were going out and running, 3, 4, 8 hours on the trails. And I was just so envious because I was sort of in this really regimented lifestyle, which was fantastic. And it got me to the Olympics. And that's a huge goal and amazing. But now to have that reward of being able to say, no, I'm not going to go to the pool and do a hard swim, a hard bike and a hard run. I'm actually going to go run like 4 or 8 hours or whatever on these trails with my friends. It's it just feels like such a guilty pleasure almost. like I why do I get to do this now? Like I'm so lucky. And I think so that it is nice. Like we all say how much we love trail running and that it's less structured than road running. But at the same time, without road running, triathlon, or all these other structured things, it wouldn't make trail running feel so good as well.
I feel like we need to start a trail running triathletes anonymous group right now.
Yeah, they always say I'm a recovering triathlete.
Sophie, so you've got that triathlon background. Like, what's different or similar about the sports?
There are definitely a lot of similarities in terms of like going out there, pushing yourself and wanting to get the best out of yourself. I think for me personally, triathlon, I was usually doing it sort of for someone else. Like I was doing it for Triathlon Australia. You had that sort of much more external pressure, where for me, trail running is kind of like a really selfish thing for me. Like I just get to do it for myself, and that's sort of thing really powerful, and how they really differ for me personally. Obviously, there's far less rocks on a triathlon course. But yeah, like I think I look at it more on how I feel doing it rather than the sport itself.
Mm-hmm. But that's actually probably a really great message to share, is that sport should be joyful and healthy, and, whichever sport you're doing, it should still come from that place, right?
Exactly. And whatever sport that may be. And for some people, it might be triathlon that brings them that.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been trail running right now, and it might not be in the future. Maybe it's something else in the future, and whatever is serving you at that time, I think is the direction that you need to go.
Has trail running taught you anything new about yourself or about sport?
Yes.
Tell us more.
I think that, again, doing this short course racing in triathlon, it's very intense and you can lose your shit quite quickly. And, you know, when things go wrong, it's often really going to impact your race because it's such a short amount of time. I think trail running has really taught me to let go of a lot of these things, to chill out. Lots of things can go wrong. It's okay. You know, I can drop all my gels and not realize it. And you know what? Like, life will go on and we'll figure it out. And so I think that's been a big thing for me, is just relaxing into it and not really worrying about anything else except just, again, for being out on the trails.
What have you heard about UTA and what are you excited to experience? That's for you, Sophie.
What have I heard about UTA? I know that Beth has won UTA because we have the overlap on the triathlon world. I definitely didn't really know about how many steps there were. I was like, I should have definitely been doing more stairs. And I think that most people knew that, but I definitely did not know that. That did not make it to Boulder. I'm really excited about the further steps coming up. I think they're going to be brutal. I think it's just going to be a really cool experience. I really hope that the first little bit we get a little bit of sunshine or just a little less cloud cover so we can see some of the beautiful Blue Mountains. This is my first time up here, so I'd love to see some beautiful views.
Well, I hope you get them. I'm sure.
TBD. It's all right.
Because as you know, trail running is about the beautiful views as well as the community.
It's all right. If not, I just have to come back, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go on to Lydia. Lydia, so you've obviously gone from road to trail. What has trail running taught you?
I think probably the biggest thing, and honestly, this is probably only something that I'm realizing now, is that like you spoke about, like, realizing you can have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think being a serious athlete in track more so than road, but even in the marathons, everything has to be so perfect. Like, you have to hit your perfect splits and your perfect mileage, and you have to get in like the certain runs before race day, and everything just needs to go so perfectly. And I think as a woman, we're kind of always being told that we have to be perfect as well. And I think that's kind of layered on top of me being a runner, is like also just being a woman who has felt the pressure to always be, in quotation marks, perfect. And I think honestly trail running has showed me that I don't need to be perfect, and that things can go wrong. Things can like go better than expected and go worse than expected, and you can kind of just smile and have fun through it. And if you miss a run, it's completely okay. And yeah, I honestly have no idea. I was talking to Grace before. I have no idea what time I'm going to run tomorrow. I haven't even really looked at it. And I kind of like that. Like, I can be a little bit more relaxed with it. And until I started running trails, I didn't know I had that in me. And now I'm like, okay, I can be one of those chill, relaxed sort of people too. I'm not this kind of uptight elite athlete that I thought I was. So yeah, it's been a journey.
Well, I mean, I think you're right. Like, there's a lot of life lessons that actually come from trail running, and it's good that you are growing from it, because it is a sport where there is a lot of growth encouraged. Is there still a bit of a competitive element though? I can imagine coming from that background, you still got to have a bit of, like, is it red mist that descends, or?
I mean, ask Beth, am I competitive? I think I am, and I want to be competitive out there tomorrow. And I think that's where I try to find the balance of like being out there and having fun with it, but also trying to bring that competitive side out of me, because I also respect the woman that I'm lining up with so much. And I look at them and I'm like, I don't really put myself against them because I think they're so incredible, but I also don't want to talk myself down. So it's like, I want to give it my best shot. I want to be competitive, but I also am like stoked if Ruth Croft beats me, you know? And it's epic to see other women doing so well, and I want to be there to celebrate them. So yes, they are my competitors, but I don't necessarily see them as my competitors. I see them as my community and people that I get to look up to, because I am so new to the sport as well. So we'll see tomorrow if the competitive side comes out or not.
I mean, speaking about women's sport, we're seeing a massive growth in coverage and participation, good things like that. How does extra coverage
change your interactions with the sport? Like are you seeing a difference from 5 to 10 years ago? Like obviously you've got probably more of a road lens to apply historically, but what's your take on that?
Oh my gosh, I think don't quote me on this because I don't know the exact numbers, but I think we've gone from something like 5% of sports media was about women athletes and women's sport to maybe closer to 20% in Australia, which still is not anywhere near what it should be, but it is a lot better than where it was. And that's not just in running, that's across the board. So, you know, when we think about young girls, like if you can't see it, you can't believe it, and you don't even try and do it. And we really need to increase visibility of women in sport, and social media has definitely helped. Like it's given us the tools to tell our own story. We're not relying on traditional media channels to see our value and our worth and decide whether that's good enough to put in the media. We can get out there, we can tell our own stories, and it's amazing to see young girls and just all generations of women see other women doing hard things and be inspired and believe that they can go and do that too. And so we're getting there, and it's amazing to see how many women, I think it's about 43, maybe 44% of our attendees this weekend are women, and that's amazing. Hopefully next year we'll get to 50%, and just to be able to see so many more women believe in themselves that they can also be out here like crushing the mountains is amazing. So media has a huge part to play in it, but we also, all of us, have the responsibility to pay attention, go to the games, go to the races, watch social media of women athletes. We all can do something to help too.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that we often can be a little bit backwards and coming forwards about. And so it's a really important message to share with everybody out there. If you're running this weekend, you know, like put your stuff up on the socials, be proud of yourself, share it, because so many people only enter because they go, oh, I saw my friend do it last year, or, you know, and we know ourselves what we've gained from being involved in the sport. And I would absolutely 100% want that for all of my friends.
Honestly, like if you can inspire one person, I believe running can change people's lives. And if you can inspire one person to get into the sport, you could literally change that one person's life. So It doesn't matter if you've got 50 followers or 500 or 5,000, whatever. Yeah, share your story because it's amazing what it can do.
Now, you've talked about being a close training buddy with Beth. What has she shared about this event, and what are you most excited to discover?
Beth's told me how fast all the women are that I'm racing against, so she's warned me.
I've also told you that you are faster.
I think the hills definitely, like coming from a road running background, I am terrible, and I learned that at Tarawera, terrible up and even worse on the downs. So I've been training on the hills, and yeah, I think just keeping my confidence up on the trails, because that's something that I lacked. And even tomorrow, like I'm nervous for the race, but the thing I'm most nervous about is like getting on that start line and just like not really knowing what to expect because I haven't done it a lot. But being out on the trails with Beth and the crew, like it's definitely helped with my confidence. So I'm just excited to get out there and give it a crack.
Good. Thank you. Charlie, we'll come on to you. So you've grown up in the trail and ultra space with two parents that ultra run. What did you know about trail running before you started running long yourself?
So at this event, I've been crewing it since I was probably about 8. But I think with that comes some naivety, because I think it became so normalized that when I was probably between 8 and 16, mum and dad would be doing, say, a 60K run, and I'd be like, oh, just a 60K run, like it's easy. Starting to do those runs, I'm like, it's not easy, and there's nothing easy about that. But I think I obviously knew a lot about it. I knew it was possible, and I think seeing that that's possible from such a young age does shape it. Obviously, the same way that you're talking about social media, seeing that other people do it. It was probably a little bit naive of me to enter my first 100K at 18, but I'm glad that I had that experience with that naivety, because I think it would be really scary if you had no like experience or exposure to that. So I think that, yeah, for me, that's probably the main thing, is like entering it really young, that was definitely because of my parents and because of my parents' community. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
You're doing UTA 100 again this year. What are your favourite things about UTA and this course?
I think having trained up here for the last few years, most weekends when it's in the lead up to UTA, I absolutely love the Jamison Valley. Like, it is the most beautiful place, I think probably in the world, one of them. But I'm really excited to run that in the light and have hopefully a bit of daylight along the nice views and everything. And then also running with my dad, that's always a special experience to not only be able to pace him, which I've done a few times, but actually, race with him and let him help me a little bit along the way. Yeah.
I tell you what, those always get me in the feels when you see parents and their children running together. I always say we should be sponsored by a tissue company at the finish line because that's what gets me.
Yeah, I mean, I did my first 100 with my mum,
Yeah.
but then being able to do it twice with dad is pretty special. But yeah.
And what keeps you coming back here? Why do you keep choosing to do this 100K?
I think because it's so close to home, obviously, but I think there's a real special community in the Blue Mountains with running, and because I'm involved, obviously, with, the community just in my day-to-day life. We have a cafe that's around the corner, and then we also have the cafe that's a little bit further away but is still heavily involved in the running community. Everything is about running and everything's about UTA pretty much for the 6 months leading up to UTA. Everyone's talking about it, so many people who are doing it, and I think it's really hard to resist that, to be involved in it. I'm not just going to sit back and not do it, particularly when it's such a good event. There's always new people doing it. Every year there might be, 20 of my friends, or not friends, but people that that are doing it. And then the next year there's a new 20 people. So I think it's really nice being involved in that, and obviously being able to follow along with not just myself, but everyone else in the community who's doing it. And it always seems to kind of rotate every year. That makes sense.
It does make sense. So you are from the mountains. What do you think this event brings to the mountains and the people?
I know I have a little running group that I run with, and UTA kind of sets the compass on a lot of people's training calendars for the whole year. So it's kind of hard to avoid UTA because everyone's talking about it, everyone's training for it, which is also really good because we can do lots of training runs together, and yeah, just set our sights on that for the first half of the year, which, yeah, it's really good.
And you're still pretty young, even though now it's been, 5 years since your first 100K. What would you say to younger women who are wanting to get into trail running but they're a bit nervous about it?
I would say definitely just start. I mean, obviously that's an easy thing to say, but start with any distance, but don't be afraid to do the longer stuff. You can do it so slowly. I would say that, you can do the 22. I've seen so many people in the community, and just today, obviously, doing the 22. It is hard, but the hardest part is starting and saying that you'll do it, I think. It's such a good event. It's so well supported. If you can find just even one person to run with and train with you and even do the event with, it just makes it so much better.
And I think that's a good message as well. And because people can be a little bit intimidated by going on the trails to start with. And so if you've got a friend, then, it kind of breaks down a barrier. It's going, oh, come along. And if somebody asks you to go for a run, they're not caring about time. They're just caring about company.
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I think about it because I do a lot of training with my dad. So a lot of the time at night, it's oh, what are we doing tomorrow? I don't know what I would do if I didn't have that kind of literally built-in training partner that you can just you don't even have to send a text. There's not even the barrier of having to send a text or a call to reach out and say, do you want to run tomorrow? It's almost a given that we are always available to run together, which is so good. But I've also become, I can't really run by myself. But that said, I think, just having a training partner or anyone who's on the kind of same journey with you will make such a massive difference. That's why I enjoyed, when we were in Noosa, running with Beth and Lydia was so great. This is back on the trail running thing, but I don't think there are many sports that you could literally message someone who's won a major event before and just tag onto their run. And I did get dropped halfway through one of the runs, but that was okay.
It's actually quite funny because I remember seeing you three running together on the socials and I was I wonder how that connection happened. But
yeah, well, it was, through Emily, which I did stay for a little bit, but that was okay because we just, we're all in the same journey, but
yeah.
Oh,
and it's a great way to see a different part of the world or a different part of the country and have new friends.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We'll go on to Beth now. So Beth, third year at UTA.
tell us, like what it feels like to be part of the community and part of that connection to the country and the event.
It's crazy. Like in my third year here, it feels like home to me. And I am American, as you can probably tell by my accent. But it truly feels like home. And I feel like I've been adopted into the community. And it's crazy, especially like we all know how much Lucy Bartholomew has brought to the event. And she's not here this year and she's sorely missed. But I feel like I can finally be a little bit of a favorite just for today. I love you, Lucy. But no, I think it's been great just to build the trail running community literally through UTA. I mean, I just talked about how we met Charlie and everybody, and it's just, I think one of the things that brings me back to trail running and to this event is just knowing that how everyone is connected. It's true. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are. We were on a run, and this was before Charlie's birthday last month, so she was like, I'm 23. And I was like, I'm twice your age. And then there we are also running with her father, who's just a little bit older than me. And after that run that day, I went home thinking, I was like, it was really cool on that run because there were a few other people. We had someone in their 20s, someone in their 30s, someone in their 40s, someone in their 50s, and a few other extras in between. And that's pretty cool to get 4 decades of people together on a jog, just by happenstance. So trails brought some great things. And yeah, those are the reasons I keep coming back. And it's so beautiful here. If anybody wants to come up and see a picture of a bird I took this morning, it is incredible. You don't even realize that those colors can exist in real life. So I hope I have time to enjoy some of that beautiful nature on the country tomorrow.
I love it.
Check my socials.
Being a mother, a business owner, and still competing at the elite end of trail running, how is that juggle?
It is a juggle, and I don't think that I always do it very well, but we try our best. These are my kids right here, sticking out their tongues and giving me the side eye, and we just try to balance it and make it work. It's never perfect. Today I had a couple other panels here, and I was like, you guys ready to go? And they're like, nah, we're not coming. I was like, okay. They're like, we want to go ice skating. I said, okay. And luckily Luke took them ice skating. So that was great. But yeah, it's, you see always perfect happy family things on social media and stuff. And hopefully they will be out at the aid stations because I really need their help. But they do love it. I think they love it. But yeah, it's great because now they have their own things that they're really into as well. And I hope that our kids can see that it's, going after your dreams, chasing your passions, not giving them up once you have kids is important too, and just go along for the ride. And I don't even think that answered your question. I don't remember what it was.
Sounded good. I know you were pretty vulnerable. I'm going to call it vulnerable and open about what I took as incredible image that was taken of your win. I can't remember if it was last year or was it year before?
Oh, 2024, up the Ferber step.
Yes. And to me, there was this epic footage of this strong woman winning a race. But I remember seeing a post from you on Instagram saying I was super critical of myself. I could see cellulite. I didn't feel comfortable. I'm paraphrasing here. That's definitely not what you said, but kind of along those lines. Do you want to talk us through kind of body image and running and...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something as women, as girls, but also men, everybody, we all deal with body image issues and everything. And I remember, I was winning Ultra Trail Australia, the 100K, and they're taking a video of me from behind coming up the Ferber steps. And it was this epic video. And I did not post it for 6 months because I had you could see cellulite all over the back of my legs. And I was like, not sure about that. But then eventually, and I listened to the audio on it, and it was just really cool and really motivating. And I was like, what's really cool? That somebody with a normal body who is 44 years old was winning this race and got to do that. And why not show that? Why not show people, how real people look? And just, you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be perfect. And showing all sides of you actually, I think, helps other people accept the different sides of themselves. And I'm not saying I'm not vain, because I'm absolutely very vain. But I think I also know that no one's perfect, and I hope that nobody else ever feels like they have to be perfect. And yeah, just think about what those little, leg sticks can do. And you're just like, who cares what they look like? They're carrying me to the top of thousands of stairs to win a big race. And that's pretty cool.
I am just going to kind of open it up to all of you and just say, what learnings have you had from a female lens over the years in the sport?
I think that the biggest learning that I've taken over the last few years, particularly building Femi, which is my women's running community, is that we need to back each other, and that community is number one. I think without us bringing our voices together, we're never going to make change. And it might feel scary or daunting to speak up if things aren't right, but having people around you and having a community to back you when you know things are not right, but no one's speaking up about it, it makes it a lot easier having that community. And I think the change that has been seen over the last 5 to 10 years in our sport has purely come from women getting together and actually pushing for media coverage, resources, tools, sports science research, what we deserve, really, as women in sport. But it wouldn't have come if we hadn't all kind of worked together, and there's a lot more change that needs to come. So I really urge more women and allies and everybody to get behind, women in sport, and just push for what we deserve, to see women kind of reach the top as well and see what we're capable of.
I actually can't remember what the question was.
What learnings have you had from a female lens?
I've got a good answer, but I don't know if it answers your question.
Go to town. Go to town.
I think just more women saying yes to more things in sport. When you guys reached out and asked me to be on this panel, I was like, I don't know, I'm not qualified to be on this panel. And then I was like, no, I will do this. And just little things like that, I think saying yes to things that you're not necessarily comfortable with, in addition to backing each other, is going to go really far.
And I would also say that I probably don't know any male Olympian who would be like, I'm not qualified to be on the panel to talk about women in sport.
I don't know. I was like,
sorry.
I'm kind of slow on the downhills. I'm not qualified.
Amazing. Beth?
Oh, what's the question?
Learnings from a female lens over the years in sport.
I think I've learned more from being a female than anyone else, because you always have to fight for yourself, no matter what it is. As Lydia was saying, fight for the coverage, put yourself center stage, tell your story if other people aren't going to tell it, because you know what, at the end of the day, it will resonate with some people, and you will have people that say, I did this because of you. Mm-hmm. And that will mean more than any finish line. And it does to me. Mm-hmm. But also just, the female lens also of being very strong, of being able to do whatever men do, maybe even faster sometimes. It's great. We've seen some really amazing races in the trail community lately of women just even, we're not here to destroy men, but occasionally they do. And it's great. But I think that's pretty much it.
I have kind of two answers. So firstly, I was going through to try to find splits to kind of look at what tomorrow might look like for myself and another person doing the 50. And you find someone who's completed the time that they're kind of on par with, and then we were talking about this the other day. Yeah. And you look at, what times they've come into different checkpoints so that they can give it to their crew. And I went through 4 people, and I thought these are all really out of whack, and it was all men who had gone out way too hard. And I actually had to find a woman to look at the paces off, because all the men had gone out way faster. And I was talking to someone else about this, and they said, that happens. So I think that women definitely there's something to be learnt from them in that space, and pacing yourselves and just being strong throughout it. And my second answer is, and it's not a direct answer to the question, but we were talking about it just before, is about the, kind of getting chicked thing. And my dad was like, I didn't even see it like that. And I think it's just this isn't really an answer to your question, but it's a very privileged position that I've never been seen as someone who would chick someone. And my dad's very comfortable if I beat him. That doesn't happen very often. It did happen the other day, but there's lots of people in my community that that don't see it as like women and men or I'm getting beaten by a girl, or it's just everyone together, which I think it's definitely a privileged position. I'm sure, like, I know you've spoken about it in professional triathlon, that it maybe isn't always the case, but there are people out there who do just see it as like everyone competing and everyone like raising each other up and being out there together. And I know you spoke about it on your podcast that it's not always been your experience, but that's just a little perspective.
Lastly, this is quite a deep question, but let's go for it. Legacy, what would you like your impact on the sport to be?
I think for any sport that anyone participates in is to leave it a better place than where you started, whatever that means for you. I'm not sure what that means for me right now. I've done one trail race. This is my second. Like, I would like to think that in 10, 15, 20, 30 years' time, maybe when I am no longer at these races, that I've left it in a better place, that I've had some kind of impact, whatever that may be, and whatever that may be for any individual out there running tomorrow. Like, you don't have to be an elite to have an impact on the sport. Anyone can have an impact on the sport. Yeah.
Very deep question. I think my kind of, purpose, if we want to call it that, in life has always been about, getting more people in the world to run. And over the last 5 years, it's definitely been about getting more women to run. And it's really why we built Femi, it's why we built the community, and it's why we built our app. And to me, it actually isn't about the running at all. And that might kind of sound quite cliche, but it's just about giving women the power to build their own confidence, and through running, because it's so bloody hard and trail running is even harder, I think we can just build so much confidence in women and really empower them to believe that they can do hard things. And honestly, the world needs more confident women. And I do think if we can build a world full of confident women, we can break down the gender equality barriers that exist today. So it's a long journey ahead. And I think, just getting out here and doing the work is just really important.
Yeah, it's of course along the same lines, but I think it's just, for me, it's like, to be the reason that others think that they can. People who think, I'm not sure I want to try a trail race, I'm too old, I have too much going on, there's all these different reasons why not to. But if you can show something that shows people, maybe I could try, just being the reason that other people think that they can or might be able to try something new, whether or not it's a trail or a 5K or a cool hike or a mountain peak, whatever it is. Yeah. Thank you.
I think I still have a lot to learn in every space, but I guess, I don't know, I don't have a legacy at the moment, definitely not, or any goals for legacy, but I think just learning off of everyone and kind of like absorbing everything that is around me. I have so many, as I mentioned, different people, different communities around me, so just being able to learn from them.
I think Charlie, when I asked Charlie to do this, and she was like, oh, this isn't normally what I would do. And I said, and she's like, I'm not very good at public speaking. And I said, Charlie, there's only one way you get better at things, and it's by showing up. And so she said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And so I think that's actually a really good, step forward that you're taking. And that's a pretty cool legacy to be.
I mean, if you speak to anyone, I do not like public speaking at all. I do not like microphones. I don't think I've ever talked on a microphone before. In uni, I would refuse to say my answers out loud. But yeah, I guess you just get over that.
That's what running can do.
I'm going to do something different before we wrap up today. And I just want you to take a moment, because there's been some really, really great messages shared, probably lots of learnings and reflections. So I just want you to take a moment to think about one thing that you'll take forward from what you've heard or learnt today, like how you want to move forward in the sport, what you've gained from this. And feel free to tell the ladies too afterwards if you've got something that you want to share with them. And on that note, thank you, everybody. This has been so epic to see so many people's
hanging out here, listening, taking part. So really appreciate all of you. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and a massive round of applause for all of these amazing women that have joined us for the Women in Trail panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got our chat with Pelle Kempe about women's health and running. I would like to extend a big warm welcome to Dirt Church Radio to Pelle Kempe. Kempe? Is that how I say it?
Kempe.
Oh, it's just Kempe. Okay. Welcome, Pelle. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm really good. I'm really good this morning.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day in the Manawatu.
Yeah. And you've already been in the action this morning?
Yeah, we had a little bit of action.
So to add a bit of insight to that, Pelle is a runner, but also a gynecologist, and he advocates for quality improvement in women's health. So you at hospital at the moment? I thought you were going to be at home.
Yeah, no, so I had to be at the hospital this morning. But I've got a little bit of time now to talk to you.
Fabulous.
But yeah, Birthing Suite had a bit of action. But all good,
New life. It must be pretty cool being like, those are huge moments, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've done this now for 25, 26 years.
Wow.
But yeah, there's always something special about being involved in the birth of a new baby. Yeah, that never really goes away.
No, I can imagine. Like, I feel like that. It's kind of about those finish line moments and seeing those expressions on people's faces. But I can remember, like, my friend, I was lucky and I had a friend that was there through the birth of my child, and she took photos, and the expression that you can see on my face when I'm being handed him is like, you must get that a lot.
So, yeah, I sometimes you want to make that comment about finishing an ultra and having a baby, but every time I think to myself, nah, this is probably a bad idea.
Maybe if it was someone like me, you could get away with it. But it is. It's such. I mean, just that genuine, raw emotion and realization. I mean, I can imagine there's parallels there.
And I mean, there's also always a bit of relief, if everything is normal and fine and no issues. As obstetricians, we don't get involved.
Yeah.
So when we are involved in the birth, there's always some kind of worry or a little bit of anxiety, and even though you don't want to show it yourself, there's a little bit inside. So that's relief for everyone when that crying baby comes out.
What special moments to get to be part of?
Yeah, no, we're lucky. I'm very happy to have a job that gives me a lot of variety, all sorts of women, all ages. There's happy moments like births, and there's sad moments with when you have to tell someone they have a cancer. And there's everything in between.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky to have a job that I love.
I think that's important, right? When you've got people that are invested in what they do, that I mean, in those moments, I can imagine it makes a big difference as well as just someone being invested and genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I mean, it probably working in that space would really make you consider life and what's important and how you live it. Is that kind of what got you into running? Like, how does it shape your running?
I I think over the last few years, when I started to run longer distances, longer races than I used to do, I think I've learned a lot about h- how I function and how I function at work too, based on uh, just training and maybe even more how to um, execute a long race.
Mm-hmm.
It's so little about the actual running. It's so much about everything else. It's you have to have to prepare. I mean, that's all the hours of training, right? But you have to have a good team around you. You have to be prepared for the problems that will arise. There will be problems if you're running for 20 hours. There will be problems, and it's much easier if you have some idea of what the problems might be and have a plan
Mm-hmm.
to address the problems. And you have to be persistent, and that's like driving any project really, or um, say a labor.
Yeah, and I
So
was.
I think there's a lot of one of the good things about running long distance is that you kind of get time to learn a lot about yourself while you're doing it.
Yeah. And like you talking about labour, and everyone says about having a birthing plan, and then just can all go out the window, and you're just
Exactly,
like, I just have to
exactly.
get through this, and the same applies to an ultra.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can always have a goal, and you can have an idea of what you would like it to look like or be. But I try when I talk to women about you know labor plans and what labor might look like, I always try to say, please know that the plan might change, and that might also be good. The outcome is what's most important here.
Yeah.
The processes along the way
Mm-hmm.
may not be exactly what you wished for or anticipated, but that you are safe and that baby is safe is the most important for us.
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So I thought you'd be a great guest to have on because you've got running knowledge, but also you've got women's health knowledge. And, women's health is something that I'm passionate about too, and more of like the fitness space. But I think it's good to use our platform to share really healthy messages with people. So that's why I thought it would be great to have a chat.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that this is a space where we're seeing a lot of change and improvement. In the last decade, it feels like there's been a lot more information given to women about, anything to do with women's health and sports, because I guess, like, historically, there was a lot less research and priority given to women's health in the sports space. Yeah, what do you see kind of from your side of things?
Yes, I mean, I think we're living in an era where there's so much information coming from all sorts of sources, online and social media,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of opinion,
Yes.
um, but I think in some way, the side that I probably come from, like the what we call evidence, uh, doesn't always get the same air time
Yes.
as as everybody's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think definitely, it's becoming a bigger and bigger responsibility for us to you know to do things like this and talk about what we actually know about women's health and there's a lot of things that we can support and help women with, and I also think a lot of women aren't aware or don't feel they know who to ask or how to ask, or I see that a lot in my job when I do often the gynecology part of my job, that women has they have so many questions, and it feels really good when you can do something that for you feels like, oh, this is just something small, but it makes a big difference for the woman.
Definitely. And I think some of that is that, I'm just going to put it how I see it, like often women will prioritize themselves last amongst all of their family commitments, and just kind of accept, oh, well, this is what's going on for me. And I mean, historically, there's been a lot of stigma and taboo around women's health as well. So I think that we've just sucked things up, or kind of, that whole keep calm and carry on approach. So it's good to be opening up lines of communication, getting good information out there, and encouraging women to prioritize themselves and their health, because they're often, I'm going to say, at the center of everything in there.
Yeah, and absolutely, it's great, talking to friends, and it's great, reading and listening to things on social media, but also it's also great to go and see your GP or your midwife or your gynecologist.
Yeah. And often that will be the way that kind of that those encouragements might come from. I'm thinking about like my chats with my friends about different things, about hormone. Now I'm going to use an older term, but hormone replacement therapy, or about incontinence, or about red S, or those sort of things will kind of come up in casual conversations. But when people are informed, they can go, actually, I can do something. I can take that next step now, or like it kind of makes it easier to move forward with things. So it's good to do things like this as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you want to give us, Pelle, just a bit of insight into the menstrual cycle and how it can impact running or training?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, the menstrual cycle is a cycle and a series of hormonal changes that are ultimately driven by the hypothalamus. This is the lowest part of the brain, through the pituitary gland and down to the ovaries. And essentially, we have two phases of the menstrual cycle: the follicular phase, which is from the start of a period until the ovulation, and during that period, you have an increasing level of estrogens in the blood, estrogens that are produced by the ovary. And then after ovulation, the ovary produces another hormone called progesterone, and that's the luteal phase, where you have high estrogens and progesterone until you get your next period, unless you get pregnant.
It's almost like a coin. Like I feel like it's like a coin. You're like, the first part, you're like, oh, happy days, and then the second part, less happy.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that. Progesterone and similar hormones with progesterone-like effects can often give, so it raises body temperature a bit. It can increase the sense of tiredness. Some women feel quite significant mood changes during the luteal phase and closer to period, while women often feel more energetic during that first follicular phase. And there's been some studies that has shown in more laboratory setting, better performance during the follicular phase than the luteal phase. But when there's been bigger studies actually looking at what athlete women, how they perform during races, there isn't any clear evidence that one phase is better than the other. But of course, if you it's a lot about whether you actually go and do your training, could be relying on how you feel. If you're just before your period and you're tired and you feel bad, and then it's easier to skip that that run that you had on your schedule.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so indirectly it might have that impact. Yeah.
This next kind of part is an area that I'm hoping people have better understanding about it than they did a decade ago, but I think it's really important to talk about. So losing your period during training or having kind of an irregular cycle, like obviously it depends on where you're at in your life phase, but why is it not okay?
So I mean, there's many reasons that you could have very infrequent periods or no periods at all, and not it's not only related to body fat or training or exercise. There's other reasons, but if we focus on what a lot of female athletes do experience, and especially in the younger years, um, is a loss of period because the relationship between body fat and muscle is so you have too little fat in relation to muscle, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that how the menstrual cycle is controlled from the hypothalamus through the pituitary and down to the ovaries. So essentially, too little fat will tell the hypothalamus to kind of switch off. And downstream you don't get enough production of estrogen, and you don't get ovulation. And I mean this function, if we go back 10,000 years, when the tribes had periods where they couldn't hunt enough or gather enough food, it was unsuitable for women to have more kids, so the body would shut down ovulation and fertility during periods of starving.
Survival mode.
Survival mode.
Yeah.
So that's what happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I see quite a lot of young women, and you don't have to be super skinny to lose your period. You don't have to starve yourself. Sometimes it's enough to be a runner on a decent level.
I mean, I had a chat with a friend yesterday who her daughter is a teenager and she's very, very sporty, doing lots of different sports. And I just said to her, have you thought about energy availability, because she's doing so much exercise? Is she getting her period? And that's probably quite a common one for lots of mums and dads of sporty teenagers, especially at a time where it can be a bit taboo. Like I remember being a teenager and I didn't want to talk to my mum about getting my period or anything like that. Oh no, that's the worst. I can't even imagine talking to her about it. So I think it's a good one for like a lot of our demographic is kind of people in their 40s. So probably a good one for our listeners to kind of be thinking about as well as
Yeah. And it's really, I mean, I, it is really important because estrogen is really important in many ways in the female body, not only for for fertility and driving the being involved in the menstrual cycle. So, and a lot of people probably know that for bone health, building up and establishing and keeping a healthy bone mass, estrogen is critical.
Mm-hmm.
Also for cardiovascular health, at least up until the age of 60, estrogen is important and supports good cardiovascular health. So we don't want young women to have a low estrogen for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So what we often do is that we prescribe estrogen supplementation, and essentially that is an estrogen containing combined oral contraceptive pill, so that until the fat muscle balance has been re-established at a healthy level, you would get the estrogen from your contraceptives to support your bone mass, etc.
Now, I want to talk about an area that has a lot of women have challenges, especially as we age. And some men actually have issues in this area as well. So let's talk about the pelvic floor.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Yeah. I mean, I think runners or on no runners or not not runners. I think a lot of women, because it's a often a gradual process. I think a lot of women have had problems for many years when they realize that this is actually a problem and this is something that I can do something about. And the pelvic floor is a kind of a big muscle, or a mesh of many different muscles that both keep everything you have in your pelvis and abdomen from falling out or falling down, but it's also very important in both urinary and bowel continence. And some of the muscles are muscles that you can voluntarily contract and control, and some muscles are involuntarily controlled. But the two main things that we see as gynecologists is, of course, different types of pelvic organ prolapse and urinary incontinence, and often a combination of the two.
So, because I mean, there's different reasons for urinary incontinence too, right? Isn't there? So,
yeah,
it can be hormonal, or you can also kind of train it, can't you?
Yes. So I mean, we often talk about two main types of incontinence. So one is what we call stress incontinence, which is when the pressure on the bladder and on the pelvic floor in some way, for some reason increases, and the we can't hold back from we can't squeeze enough to hold the urine back. So that would be like with jumping or coughing or sneezing or laughing, and of course running, right?
Yeah.
And the other main type would be like an overactive bladder, where the bladder itself starts to contract around it. It's like it's too irritable. It starts to contract around a too small volume or too often, or and those two are quite different. And what we you know the what we often see in together with pelvic organ prolapse or on its own is stress incontinence, which as pelvic organ prolapse has a relationship with previous childbirth. So if you have had vaginal births, and especially if you have had more than one, you have a higher risk of developing both stress incontinence and pelvic organ prolapse. I guess the good thing with stress incontinence is that pelvic floor physiotherapy is often very effective, both in preventing and treating. That many women get great help from pelvic floor physiotherapists, and that's really a professional group that I admire a lot. They do some amazing things, and they know things that I don't know. And I take a lot of help from pelvic floor physiotherapists.
I was lucky. So after having Sebastian, I had the new cover for ACC for birthing injuries. And I think it had only just come in, which is amazing. And I got to work with a pelvic floor, like a woman's health physio, and she was brilliant, and it was really, really helpful to do. Like, I think probably historically maybe it was something that I might not have done, but it's just good to kind of to make sure that you're in the right place to get back into running and to be doing all those things. And she kind of,
I mean, that was a huge win. And so I have quite a lot of involvement with our specialist college, and we were involved a lot with the establishment of the ACC cover of maternal birth injury. And so in October 2022, when that started, it's a big day for all women. So just to kind of give a little bit of an overview. So if you have had your baby after October 2022 in New Zealand, you are covered. And it's really important that when you do birth your baby, and even if it's just a minor tear at the time, that your midwife or obstetrician helps you to submit a claim, because if you firstly, you will get access to things like women's health physiotherapy, like you say you did, but also if you get any kind of problems later in life, you will have that claim, and you will have cover for more physiotherapy or medical or surgical treatment.
And, like you kind of think about the impacts of what can happen and how it influences your life, like when it comes to if it's incontinence or prolapses or that sort of thing, it would really limit how women might live their lives.
Yeah. Especially if you're a runner.
Especially, like, if you're active and outdoorsy, and I mean, I do see that, like, in my coaching, women really persevering with tricky things, like pessaries. I actually had a laugh. You'll probably like this, Pelle. One of my friends was doing this really multi-day, really hilly hike, and she said, my friend had to keep putting her patisserie back in, and I was like, patisserie? Like a baguette or something?
Yeah.
But I mean, some women will use things like pessaries to help them with their pelvic floor, right?
Yeah. No, so that is for many women that is a very good treatment option for pelvic organ prolapse, and you means you don't have to do surgery. And we, I mean, we do a lot of surgery for prolapse. One of the issues is that there's quite a high recurrence rate, even after surgery. So up to around 30% will have a recurrence within 5 years after surgery, which means 70% will not.
Yeah.
But it's still quite high. And for women who um, there's a lot of women who find the ring pessary very acceptable as a treatment option.
And what about when it comes to incontinence and surgery around that? Because that's something we have talked about, haven't we?
Yeah, so surgery for urinary incontinence is a little bit tricky at the moment, because there's so for many years the standard procedure was to have, well, the most common type of sling procedure was what was called a TVT, which is like a thin band that you insert under the urethra as a support to improve continence. We don't have to go into detail, but many might know that um, there was mesh used for pelvic organ prolapse surgery introduced, and that those products came with a lot of problems and were withdrawn from the market. It's now quite a few years ago, and no one's using them anymore. But the incontinence tapes, because they were also made of mesh, or are made of mesh, have also been kind of pulled into that, and we currently have a pause, and there's high there's standards of credentialing for who can do incontinence surgery and not. So access to incontinence surgery is quite limited, and we're hoping that will improve. There's other methods. There's there's slings made of, so you can take a piece of muscle fascia,
From where?
and you usually the thigh,
Okay.
and you can use that to kind of build an incontinence sling. There's some injection treatments that can be done
Like a
where you,
Botox or something like that, or
yeah, or like almost like a gel that you insert under the lining of the mucosa, the lining of the urethra, the urethral mucosa. That essentially makes it a bit tighter. And but again, I don't know. The first step should always be to see a good physiotherapist and get proper instructions in pelvic floor training. And it's easy for me to say who have never and will never give birth, but please do your pelvic floor exercises. Please do them, because it prevents so many problems.
where can people get good guidance on how to do those, Pelle?
Oh, so again, midwives should absolutely, be able to give good advice. There's online resources that you can use. There's I know there's quite a few apps
Okay.
that can help you. And yeah, again, physiotherapists are amazing. And I mean, it could take just one visit, and you get a lot of good exercises that you can keep for life.
Shall we talk? I might go on to talking about kind of, since we've been talking about birth and all that sort of stuff, we should probably talk about fertility and pregnancy considerations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So are you thinking during fertility treatment, or are you thinking?
I think both. So maybe let's start with kind of normal, like a normal approach to fertility. So I mean, not a normal, you know what I mean. Like if somebody's going, okay, I run a lot, I still want to be engaged in the sport, but I want to get pregnant. Like, what's the kind of advice around that? Because I think historically, women were kind of told, oh, anything to do with getting pregnancy, like just stop everything. Be a you know, what is the guidance there now?
So I think women should continue to do what feels right for them.
Mm-hmm.
You can trust your body. I think that's key. You don't. I mean, we talked about that previously, right? If you train too hard and eat too little, you won't ovulate. So you have to keep your period and keep your ovulations. But having said that, training makes people feel good, and if you're in a good space, you're more likely to feel good about the things that life is better if training is an important part of your life. Life is better when you do it. And I think there's nothing that says that when you get pregnant that training will harm your baby in any way. I mean, it's going to be harder to do sit-ups when you're 38 weeks. But that kind of comes naturally, and keeping fit during pregnancy is really important. We have much more problems with overweight and obesity and diabetes and pregnancy than we have with women who have kept doing their 5 or 10K run a few times a week.
Yeah, I believe that.
And I mean, you will feel when you've done too much. If you go too hard and you get pain somewhere, don't do it. And adapt your training. A lot of women change into doing more like slower running, or if you do yoga, or other types of training that aren't as hard. The longer the later you come in your pregnancy.
Yeah, and I think you just find what's comfortable for you during that patch. Like I found, especially kind of in that third trimester, like just shorter walks and swims felt really good. But equally, I know friends that kept kind of jogging at a very slow pace. Like kind of pretty much right up. Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunately, there are quite a few women who do get, the pelvic girdle pain, especially at the later parts of pregnancy, and doing like this, training in water, for example, is often easier because you get a support by the water for the body in a different way. And
what about through IVF? Because this is an area where I think you've got that risk, right, of the ovarian torsion syndrome.
Hyperstimulation. And
So do you want to talk to us about that? Because I feel like that's an area where there hasn't historically been a lot of guidance.
So I mean, just briefly, for those who don't know a lot about fertility treatment, but essentially so I'm not a fertility expert, that is run by fertility clinics around the country. But essentially, fertility or IVF treatment is about stimulating the ovaries to produce multiple eggs,
Mm.
and then pick the eggs, or use a needle to get them out, and then get them fertilized outside the body and reintroduce a very early embryo, fertilized egg into the uterus. And often before the ovulation stimulation starts, we down-regulate, so kind of stop the ovaries completely. So that is almost like a brief trial of menopause, and you might feel really shitty during that time, and then when ovulation stimulation starts, the high doses of the hormones can make you feel like swollen, and sometimes the ovaries become quite large.
Mm.
So there can be uncomfortness and almost even pain in the pelvis and in the abdomen. With that of course can have an impact on your ability to to train.
Mm.
And what you were, I think, talking about is the worry when ovulation stimulation happens is that you get too much, too many eggs and too large ovaries, and that can both cause like salt water balance problems, where you collect too much water in the body and in the abdomen, and you even get ascites with like free fluid, large amounts.
Mm.
And there is a risk that those big ovaries taut. So the ovary is essentially hanging in its blood vessels. And if the weight distribution within the ovary, so within a large ovary, if that changes, it can start to twist.
Mm.
And if it twists, the blood supply gets impacted. Of course, if you twist the blood vessel, you kind of close it off.
Mm.
So, and that can cause not only pain but actually injury to the ovary. So it is less common today,
Mm.
but it does happen, and you have to be aware of that. And of course, when you are in a state with big ovaries and all swollen, then it's it's probably not very nice to go out for a long run.
No, I remember you just, it is a really like, oh, so for context, I went through 3 rounds of IVF. And you do like thinking about listening to you talking about the, like feeling like you're going through menopause. I remember just there were times when I was like so hot and sweaty, and you get this big kind of like, I'm going to call it like a hum kind of over you. And I'll be like, oh, what is this? And then going through that stimulation is it is this really kind of big swollen feeling. It's kind of hard to describe, but it is. You just kind of like, oh. So it does impact the way that you want to be moving, I think, anyway, for what was for me. Like everybody's different, and I think that's part of it as well. But yeah. Okay, so what about kind of the next thing that is probably most applicable to a large audience of a large part of our audience? So going through perimenopause and menopause, and also, like from men that are listening, it's really important for them, for their partners to
to kind of understand a bit better and be more informed as well. So do you want to talk to us about training through perimenopause and menopause?
Yeah, so I'm really happy that we seem to be in an era where perimenopause and menopause and the changes that happens to women and to some men is much more talked about.
Mm.
And we also know much more today than we did, say, 20 years ago about the effects of menopause and what we can do and the benefits and the risks with the treatments that are available.
Mm.
And so that's really cool, I think. Um, I mean, we used to talk about menopause as the time, the exact time when periods stop. And today we're more talking about the perimenopause as the up to 10 years before that happens, and maybe 10 years after, and that's a transition, and it happens at different ages for different women, even though the mean age for periods to stop is around 51 years. You know, I see women who still have periods when they're 55 and have issues with that,
Mm.
and women who have perimenopausal symptoms when they're 45.
Mm.
Um, so and there's women experience a lot of different changes to how they feel and to their bodies. So I think l- many will experience that they don't um, the body doesn't feel the same way as it used to, and it's also like a gradual change that someday you might realize that this is different than what it was 3 years ago. A lot of women experience weight gain. It's harder to build muscle because of the hormonal changes that happen. I mean, the classical symptoms are the hot flashes and the sweatings, and but we also see a lot of women who can't sleep. Um, they have mood changes. They come and say, I don't feel like myself.
Mm.
There's women who experience skin changes, hair changes, joint pain is not too uncommon. So there's all sorts of different symptoms, and I think so HRT, or MHT as we try to call it now, was very popular in the 90s, and then after two big studies that were published around the 2000 around risks with HRT, the use kind of dropped very suddenly, and now with more research done, I think we've learned how to use MHT in a safer way
Mhm.
with less risks, um, and we can guide women in a better way. So currently the recommendation, if you want to try MHT, would be to use some kind of transdermal estrogen. So that's a patch or a gel,
Mm.
and then to use then when you use estrogen, if you haven't had a hysterectomy and you still have your uterus, you have to have some kind of progesterone or progesterone-like medication to protect the endometrium, so the lining of the uterine cavity, to not grow too much and turn into cancer because of the constant estrogen stimulation. So you need to add either a progesterone tablet, or you can choose to have an IUD that contains a progesterone-like hormone that that protects the endometrium.
It sounds quite hardcore, but it's pretty straightforward, really. Like, I'm gonna paraphrase, and you're probably like, no, Ali, but basically, like, because I've started on it maybe a year ago, just because I thought, oh, what's going on? Like, is this related to perimenopause or not? And I tried the gel first, but then I kind of got a bit annoyed about applying it and having to wait. So then I've gone to patches, but it's kind of just like, you know.
Yeah, some women feel say that especially if you need a higher dose,
Yeah.
it becomes quite a lot of gel.
Oh, I can imagine just covering yourself in gel.
Yeah.
But
So,
it's kind
yeah.
of easy, like you just put the patches on, and then in the second half of your cycle, take the progesterone pills. And
Mm.
I mean, yeah, it's hard, like it's subjective, but for me, I think it's definitely helped me feel more me again and
Yeah,
less
and
kind of joint or
there
musculoskeletal
are
stuff.
there are still, there are still some risks, and it has to be an individual decision, because
Yeah.
some women might have specific risk factors that means they should be more cautious.
Yeah.
So we know that from the data we have, there's still a somewhat increased breast cancer risk if you use MHT for several years. In actual numbers, the numbers are very low, but percentage-wise, there is an increase, and the recommendation is still to use the lowest effective dose. So, you should start low and then go up.
Yeah.
But there's also, it's also been shown that there are benefits. So we know that there's a good effect on bone mass up until at least the age of 60. There's probably a protective effect with regards to cardiovascular disease up until the age of 60. After 60, it's probably the other way around, and the risk of cardiovascular disease increases if you're using MHT. And there's also some data around cognition and things like that.
Improved cognition?
Yes. And I mean, one of the symptoms that a lot of women I see talk about is the brain fog.
Yeah. And I mean, it's tricky, right? Because around this age, people are really busy. They're often at the kind of height of their career. They've got family. Well, not everybody, but they've got families. They've got a lot to kind of consider. So it's understandable that you'd have quite a busy brain struggling to remember everything anyway.
Yeah, and it's really important that we keep as clinicians that we keep our minds open, and we can't explain everything with menopause, because there will be some women who have hypothyroidism, which can also cause tiredness and brain fog, or who not all mood changes will be menopause. There are actually some women who have a depression.
Yes.
And we need to understand that.
Yeah.
It's not like, everyone who have a low mood at the age of 47 will need estrogen.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is a game changer for a lot of women. And I think we're in a time when it's becoming more and more recognize that th- this is a thing, and there is a treatment available.
And I've, from a coaching lens, I've kind of, worked with people that go, it is amazing. It's kind of helped me get back to being more me and be able to train more like I used to. And then you have people that go, oh, that just wasn't working for me. And so I've gone
No.
back and to try and, work with perimenopause in a more natural way. So each to their own. I guess it's a case of kind of weighing up all the pros and cons and what's going to work best for you. And if you feel like that, then give it a go. And if you don't feel like it's right for you, then don't do it.
And I think that's important, that there are things that can have a positive impact on things like hot flashes that aren't adding an estrogen patch. For example, running. We know
Yay!
that women who train regularly experience less perimenopausal symptoms. We know that there's some studies that show a benefit of acupuncture on hot flashes. So there's other things that you can do, and especially if you're a runner, keep running.
Yeah.
That's also good for your bone mass.
Yeah. Yay. Someone telling us to keep running. That's always good. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. We can't sort everything with medication.
No, it's true. What about, let's kind of talk about things from a sexual health perspective, because that's an area too that we kind of forget about. I think that sexual health or like libido is like a thermostat for health. It's kind of, if you're like we talked about earlier, right, with that energy deficiency and being in survival mode, actually when you're feeling really healthy, you're feeling sexual. So should we talk about that kind of like when it comes to training impacting that, or considerations like libido changing or vaginal dryness, or it's kind of symptoms of menopause, pain? Yeah.
So with a lower circulating estrogen level, if you that first group we talked about who have too little fat in relation to muscle, but also when after childbirth, when your estrogen is lower and your progesterone is higher, or in perimenopause, there's a lot of women who do feel that dryness, itching, and maybe pain with vaginal intercourse, and that's often related to that low estrogen level, and the and so estrogen is really important for vaginal health.
Yeah.
So estrogen stimulates the vaginal cells to produce glycogen. And as runners, we want glycogen in our muscles to be able to run, but in the vagina, the glycogen is for the good bacteria.
Okay.
So the lactobacilli in the lactic acid producing bacteria that we want to be in the vagina, they are stimulated by the estrogen and that glycogen, and they keep the vagina healthy. So if you have symptoms like that, it's you could try a local estrogen cream.
Okay.
Like a vaginal cream that includes estrogen, and we prescribe that a lot for women during perimenopause and after menopause, and for a lot of women that changes their life. We I mean, libido is tricky because it's not only hormones, it's also in the brain, right? And everything affects that. If you, as you said, if you're in a good space, you will be more interested in having sex with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And that could, and with increasing age and changing hormonal levels, libido will be affected. We're as humans, we're built to have kids when we're like 20,
Yeah.
and and then it's downhill from there, right? and in modern society we kind of have this idea that everything should be the same, um throughout life, and I think we, in some way, we have to realize that it does change, and we have to, sometimes you have to work on these things with your partner or with yourself, or and everyone's different, and everyone has different ideas of what's good for them. We do often see a positive effect on libido from estrogen treatment, or MHT, in perimenopause. Something that's happened in the last few years is that there's some evidence, although it's not as strong as for some other parts of MHT, but there's some evidence that adding testosterone to your estrogen progesterone treatment might give an additional positive effect on libido. So that's, some women do want to try that. It's important that we monitor, so that you don't get any negative side effects from that treatment. For example, on blood fats like lipids, or any effect on the liver, for example.
With that, I guess, and as a coach, that's an important one for me to flag, is that testosterone is a banned substance. So if you are racing, I don't know, do you know the levels, Pelle, or is it just completely banned in racing?
Oh, I know testosterone is, that's a steroid, right? That's so I would believe that you would, that it wouldn't be okay to use any kind of testosterone. It's interesting because, I mean, if when we check the levels in the blood, when we add testosterone, sometimes they go up a lot, and sometimes they don't change too much at all. So that's individual, but I think as a kind of a blank rule, testosterone is doping.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of other things that people can take, and I think it's one thing with the with the elite, but there's so many of us who aren't elite and who go and do these races, and I think a lot of us maybe don't think about what we put in our bodies, or put on our bodies.
Yeah, as it it is important for people to realize that, like, I'm not on testosterone with my MHT, but if I was, I would actually be doping if I was racing. So it's just important to highlight for people because, the implications of, being caught doing that are actually pretty major. Like you'd have to serve a ban, which is pretty crap for,
Yeah.
for somebody
Even
that
as
loves
an
running.
amateur.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about pain with sex?
Yeah. That is unfortunately quite common.
Yeah.
And coming back to the pelvic floor, the pelvic floor is very, very good at remembering.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's partly voluntary and partly involuntary, and we can't always control the tension of the pelvic floor. So say that you've had, for some women it could start with a traumatic childbirth. Or unfortunately there's a significant percentage of women who have experienced some kind of sexual trauma in the past. And traumatic events related to vagina or pelvic floor can cause long-standing pain, and it's not always but very often related to your your pelvic floor. And of course depending on the the initiating trauma, there's different kinds of treatments that could help. For some, of course, psychology could be an important part, but for many women, getting to know their own pelvic floor and how it works is a key step. And again, I'm coming back to the amazing pelvic pain or pelvic health specialized physiotherapists, because a lot of women that I've seen has had great help from the physiotherapist, and they might have had pain with intercourse for years, and they get help, and they sort it in say 6 months.
Yeah, wow. And that would be pretty life-changing for them and their partners. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna go into detail, but there is a process, and it's kind of step by step, telling your muscles that there is no fear here, and actively learn to relax these, take control over these muscles.
And I mean, we do it with running, so why can't we do it with our pelvic floor as well, and health?
Yeah. It's just a different kind of strength exercise, or relaxation exercise rather than strength exercise.
But important. And interconnected. Like we can't, I mean, we try and put things into silos, right? Like I often talk about it with training, and people go, oh, but I'm just going to do a gym session here and then I'll do this run. And I'm like, it's all coming from the same energy tank.
Do you like my den?
I love your den.
Yeah.
No, he's just, hey, go back to Nana. She might have a little treat for you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've got another treat in the fridge.
Oh, what's that?
Come and have a look.
I don't even know where we were then. What was I talking about? I don't know.
No, I think we had talked about pain with sex.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
with intercourse.
I'll do a little clap. Yeah, so it's important to kind of remember that it's all the same body, same thing, and it's all internet connected, and that we can, I mean, we have stress and adaptation in our running training, and it's important to remember that these are also things that you can train as well, and
Yeah.
it'll have positive impacts just like our running does on our health too. So so I think I really appreciate you chatting with all these things. I know it's not our normal kind of Dirt Church radio, have a chat about running, but it's good to apply that lens, because it really all of these things do make a big impact on how much we can enjoy our sport. Like, I kind of see and hear the stories about things that are happening in training or racing, and like in regards to continence or heavy periods or hormones or all those things. And so it's actually good to go, well, okay, if this, then what? Like, what can we do about it, rather than just suffer something? What can we do to improve this experience, that we can engage with our sport better?
Yeah. Can I just say something about heavy periods?
Yes, go
Because
for it.
I think that's really, it triggers me in some way. So I just want to make clear, there's no evidence that says that women are healthier if they have periods.
Okay.
So that is a choice today. And if you feel that you feel better in yourself if you have your periods, the periods aren't too heavy or too painful, and you better not have any external hormones in your body, please do that. If you struggle with your periods, if they are painful or if they are heavy, or if they impact your life in a way that you don't want and you would be happier without them, there's ways to not have them, and you won't be less likely to get pregnant when you stop your contraception afterwards. And in terms of running and training and exercise, and there's also no obvious difference between being on contraception or not being on contraception. It's a woman's choice to decide what is you feel is right for you at this time, and that might change from one part of life to another part of life. But I think that is really important, and there's a lot of kind of opinion and how do I say that?
Misinformation?
Maybe not so much that, but I think judgment.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah.
and I don't think as a woman you don't feel judged.
Yeah.
Do what you feel is right for you.
Oh, because I can appreciate that, because I know women, and you see it all the time in Facebook groups, getting really concerned about getting their period on race day or that sort of thing. So I guess you've just got to weigh up what's going to make you feel most confident engaging with your sport. And so for some people, they might go, I feel healthy and strong when I'm having periods. And then others might go, it really impacts me psychologically, going, am I going to get it on race day? And there's all this kind of I can really appreciate what you're saying there about people making the decision that's best for them.
Yeah, and if you there's so many options for contraception now. So go and see someone you trust, whether that's your GP or your gynecologist or someone at YOS, or and you will find something that suits you and your needs.
Yeah. And speaking about you, Pelle, I think we need to probably wrap this up, even though I'm sure we can chat about all these things for hours and hours. One thing that we get everybody to do that comes on Dirt Church Radio is to share their greatest run ever. So do you want to talk to us about what your greatest run ever has been?
Yeah, sure. So I think I kind of need to go home to your land. So my journey in running, because I've always done endurance sports. I grew up in Sweden and I spent most of my life in Sweden, and I was cross country skiing and orienteering and trail running, but never really long distances. And then I grew older, I think I realized sometime halfway through my 40s that I'm actually just getting slower and slower every year. I do the same, 10Ks twice a week and then 20Ks on the weekend, and I'm doing the short ones too slow and the long ones too fast, and I'm not getting any better. So a few years ago, I joined a coaching program based out of Sweden, and the program was called 10 months to 100K. And I started because I wanted to learn a different way of running.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating to begin with. I couldn't understand. I couldn't even run on that low heart rate that they suggested I should have. But gradually the body adapted, and then a few months in, I said to myself, well, I'm going to try if this program works. So I signed up for the Tarawera 102K in 2024. And I got there and I had the best day. I think I did 15 and a half hours, and it
Well
was,
done.
I was so happy afterwards. Everything just worked so fine. And then I realized, there's actually a miler you can do. So then I continued to train, and I came back. So that was last year in 2025. I did the miler, and I wouldn't say that the whole race was the best run ever, but the way from Okataina and in was because I had decided for myself that this is gonna be 2 races.
Okay.
I'm on my own.
Yeah.
I'm on my own for the first race from
Mm.
the start to Okataina. And then my pacer and good friend Dave will come along,
Yeah.
and we will do another race together through the night. So that was kind of my mindset.
I like that approach. Yeah.
And so when I struggled, I struggled mentally there, just before, the last like 20Ks until you get to outlet.
Yeah.
I had this, that's gravel road and forestry roads, and it was kind of not too inspiring.
Yeah.
And then I just took it one aid station at a time. But then when I got to outlet, I thought, now it's only 3 hours until I'm going to meet Dave, and we're going to start that race that I've been looking forward to.
Cool.
And you come by the Tarawera Falls, and it gets more beautiful. And so then I don't know what the time was, probably like 8:30, 9 in the evening sometime, I got to Okataina, and there he was, and we changed clothes, the head torch on, and up over the what is it called, Okataina Western
Western
Walkway.
Okataina.
Yeah.
Hey, I've
And it
got a
was
question. Did somebody do a countdown for you for the second race?
Yeah. Probably you.
They should have counted you off from Okataina.
This year there was someone who did,
Yeah.
but not 2025.
No.
I think. I can't
Sorry.
remember. Maybe I was.
I'm getting
Anyway.
distracted anyway. You're on Western Okataina.
Yeah, so I was saying, so those 8 or whatever 9 hours that we spent on those 48K into the finish line. That was just the best. It was the two of us. We were talking all the time. It wasn't, too cold. It was, it was a little bit of rain. And it was just so great. And I never doubted that I would finish because it was, the two of us there, and it was the night and the head torches, and yeah, it was that was the best run.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that concept, and I can just see you running out there with your mate, having a real buzz and big nighttime adventure. Oh,
And it was, so it was so great. So now I after that I had come up with this crazy idea that I want to go and do a big race in the Alps someday.
Okay. That's what's next.
We'll see. See, I went back. I did the 102K again at Tattooera this year in the mud and rain.
Yep.
Which was, good learnings.
Yeah.
A lot of
Not the greatest run ever, though.
no, not the greatest run ever, but it was good learnings. So we'll see. Well, I'm thinking maybe next or the year after that. But I'll do some other things in the to build up.
Well, we'll watch this space, Pelle. It's, I'll be keen to see, especially if you're going running in the Alps. I'd love to see some of those photos. But I just want to say a big thank you for coming on and for sharing your knowledge and for hopefully breaking down some barriers and encouraging women to make good choices about their health. So it's been a pleasure chatting with you. It's a bit different from what we normally do, but very important. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Dirt Church Radio is presented by me, Matt Raymond.
Me, Ali Pottinger.
And me, Andrew McDowell.
We're on all the podcast platforms, so like, follow, and give us a rating. It really helps. We're on social media at Dirt Church Radio, and you can email us at dirtchurchradio@gmail.com.
Remember to sign up to our Substack for a weekly newsletter and aid station podcast, and also write in with your greatest run ever. We'd love to hear from you, and you can read them on the website too.
And thanks to our supporters, Further Faster, and our Substack subscribers in the DCR Aid Station crew. Stay tuned for our show in 2 weeks when we have another great guest lined up.
Mā te wā.